Hello, Void Dwellers. If you're Jewish, then you probably have many experiences that only Jews can relate to. One of those experiences is being told what you are. It's amazing how many people in my life, and I'm talking from close family members to complete strangers on the internet, try to tell me throughout my life what I am. I even met this racist African American who lectured me how I am not a real Jew and the real Jews are actually Africans. Which, I mean, I know anti-Semites like to break the stupid barrier every time they speak, but it doesn't make it less amazing when they actually succeed every single time. Anyway, one of the reasons anti-Semites are so obsessed with us, with who or what we Jews are, is that they could justify kicking us out of places. Now, in the past, it was considered acceptable that Jews are not European, even those who are white, and therefore can be kicked out of Europe. Now, however, times have changed, and it's important to the new generation of anti-Semitic morons to say that, in fact, we are Europeans, and we're not Middle Eastern, so they could justify trying to kick us out of our homeland. Now, I never really cared much about my genetic heritage. I was pretty much sure that I know who and what I am, regardless of any idiots talking at me online. But recently I've become curious. I heard people saying that they did those DNA tests and discovered surprising things about themselves, like that they had a connection to a region they never knew about, or that they are some part Neanderthal. So I finally said, you know what, screw it, let's see what we get. And I did the MyHeritage test. Not that they have anything to do with this video, by the way, they were just the first result when I googled DNA tests. So they don't pay me, but I hope they do pay their SEO person. Anyway, it took a few weeks, but I finally got the results. And they even made this nifty little video for me to see them. So let's see them together. I can't wait to discover that I'm half Mexican or something. Come on, let's see. Huh. Well, that's anticlimactic. I mean, kind of disappointing, really. I mean, I could have told you that myself. Both my grandparents on my father's side were born in Berlin, and I have an Austrian passport because that's where the family lived in the 19th century. So yeah, Ashkenazi Jews is exactly right. But it is interesting to notice that they managed to guess that I'm Jewish. I mean, when you take the test, you don't tell them anything about yourself. You don't give them your ethnicity or your background. You just give them your name and a DNA sample. That's it. And I have a last name that is just a very common German name that is not necessarily Jewish. So how did they know Ashkenazi Jew, of all things? Why not just German or European? Well, because Ashkenazi Jews have specific mutations that are found in them, but not in non-Jews in Europe. It's why there's a Jew face. And indeed, research has shown that Ashkenazi Jews are more closely related to each other than to their European neighbors. Which is not surprising considering that for centuries they pretty much only procreated within themselves. By the way, I will leave you a link to the wiki page on Jewish genetic studies if you want to find all the sources for everything I'm saying in this video. Anyway, another trait of Ashkenazi Jews that makes it easy to identify them genetically is that they share mutations with, drumroll, Middle Easterners. Mutations that you find only in Middle Easterners and in Ashkenazi Jews. But Europeans don't have those mutations. And that is evidence of the connection that Ashkenazi Jews have to the Middle East, their point of origin, specifically, you guessed it, Israel, or Judea as it was called at the time. Now, interestingly enough, Ashkenazi Jews also have Italian genes in them. I was surprised by the 1.5% of me that is Italian, but it's probably because of the way Ashkenazi Jews got to Europe to begin with, which is through the Roman Empire. See, when Pompey Magnus conquered Judea in 63 BC, Judea became a part of Rome, a province, and some Jews chose to leave and travel to the city that was the New York or the London of its time. Then, of course, a century later, in the year 70 AD, when the Romans crushed the Great Jewish Revolt, thousands of Jews were taken back to Rome as slaves. Possibly that is the time the genetics started to get more European and we became whiter, as Roman slaves were known to be used as sex slaves as well. So all Ashkenazi Jews have a little bit of Italian genes in them because of the time spent in ancient Rome. But from there they migrated into inner Europe. Now, I also have 12.1% Iberian heritage, which is not surprising either, because that would be from my grandmother on my mother's side. She was born in Jerusalem herself, but the family had Spanish roots and was part of the Jews that were expelled from Spain in 1492. The puzzling part of my results is that apparently I am 8.2% Northern African. I am really curious about that one. I have no idea where that comes from. No living or dead relative that I am aware of is from Northern Africa. But then again, we did lose a lot of people in the Holocaust, so it could be that some trails are gone forever. So apparently some of my family members do have African roots. Can I identify as black? If you're being racist towards me, are you being a double racist, both to Jews and black people? I mean, apparently I'm even 0.8% Nigerian, which... who the hell was fooling around all the way to Nigeria? I like that my ancestors seem to be quite the explorers. And finally, of course, like all Jews, I am also 0.8% Middle Eastern. Now, as I already said, all Ashkenazi Jews have Middle Eastern mutations which show their connection to the Middle East. But all Jews have some degree of Middle Eastern mutations that you don't find in any other people in the world and are unique to that area alone. So that is why that's there. So there you have it. I do feel like that was a completely unnecessary test. It didn't tell me a whole lot that I didn't already know. But if it upset a Nazi out there, that's money well spent. I'm an Ashkenazi Jew with Middle Eastern roots. What a shock. Until the next earth-shaking discovery, I'll see you next time, Void Dwellers.